Hello and welcome back to Andres Early Reads. Today I'll be talking about The Lost Company, a military fantasy book that's written by Michael Maguire, and shout out to him. He's from England, from Liverpool. I support Liverpool in the Premier League, so I decided to use today my Liverpool shirt, one of my Liverpool shirts. This one is I have Bobby Firmino in the back. Hopefully we're winning number 20 in a couple of games. So shout out to Liverpool, to all of the Liverpool fans out there. And with that out of the way, we're back to talking about The Lost Company. It was quite interesting how I came to discover this book. I did not discover this book. Michael came to me. He asked if I had time and disposition to read his book. Just then, I just finished a book. I had nothing on my plate, and he sent me his book. I knew nothing about it, but I was immediately drawn to it. The cover is gorgeous, and the blurb was very, very interesting to me because I read a lot of military stories. I really like military stories. I love historical fiction, and it resonated immediately with me because it reminded me of a couple of books from one of my favorite historical fiction authors. That's Valerio Massimo Manfredi. That's an Italian author. He wrote anything and everything you want to read about ancient Rome, the legions, about Julius Caesar. His book that's called The Ides of March is really, really good about Julius Caesar's assassination. But immediately, The Lost Company reminded me of a couple of books from Manfredi. One is The Empire of Dragons. It's a book where a Roman legion, by virtue of fate and destiny, end up in China. And if you're curious about the book, I really recommend it to you, as I did to Michael. It's a great book, very, very entertaining. And the other book I recommended Michael, and I recommend you if you like Roman history and military stuff. It's The Lost Legion. That's a theme very similar to The Lost Company, and that immediately drew me to read The Lost Company. It's the story of it's a story that's basically Goths or Visigoths against the Roman Empire, but it's dressed in some fantastical elements, like magic, that we get to discover slowly as we progress in the book. It's very well done, the way he incorporates magic. And The Lost Company, it's a story about our main character, Tugs, who is a sergeant in a company that end up lost behind enemy lines. And I really loved the way he set it up. It starts in the middle of a battle where the Empire of the Feast, it is our Roman or Roman Empire in this world is invading the land of thugs of this company, and we end up with the company behind enemy lines. One of the best and most positive aspects of the book is the pace and the flow Michael manages to keep throughout the book. It's really well done. I love the fact that he never dwells too long on too much. He never overdoes the whole complexity of the situation. He never dwells on the hunger, on the injuries. He never dwells on the anguish and the problems of the story too much. You get enough of it to really feel their plight, their situation, and he mixes all of those moments with very good character work. We get to discover more, especially about Tux, about our main character, because he's the principal voice, he's the main voice we get throughout the book. And we get to see and know more about him, about what makes him who he is, and you feel his anguish, his problems, his doubts, and everything in between. And you slowly get to know more about the company, the other characters of the company. Perhaps I would have liked a little more knowing a little more of the minor members of the company, because some of their deaths didn't really land for me, because I had no emotional attachment to them or their story. But the impact of their deaths through our main character are really well done, and you feel how all of that eats away at Tugs. And I really want to remark how well accomplished that was. And I want to remark, I want to highlight how well done it is the way that Michael Maguire tells us more about the magic, how it works, how it's woven into the story. You feel the perhaps 3 different magical factions we find in the book, and their differences. There are the druids, there are the mages, and there are the blood sorcerers. And there is a very good tension developed in the small bits he puts into the story. One of the best characters he manages to flesh out is the squad mage, that's Mane, or Main. That you get to feel his tiredness, his problems, and the way he is slowly woven into the story. I think one of the other great aspects of the story is how cohesive it feels. It doesn't feel like it was a mishmash of ideas that he simply put together. It reads really easy. It reads really well. I had a great time with it. It's about 350 pages, but I really devoured the book. I finished it in 2.5 days. So that's credit to Michael. I think it's a great debut novel. I gave it 4 stars. It's 4.3, give or take. And I'm really curious to see where he will be taking the story going forward, because he left all the pieces on the board, the kings and queens and pawns and the knights, ready for a new installment, ready for a new book. The series is called The Forgotten Saga of the Lost Company, and I really want to know more about where it's going forward. The Lost Company releases on April 11th, and I want you to check it out when it's time. I want to thank you once again for coming to Andres Early Reads. This was The Lost Company. I hope your TBRs never be empty and your mugs always be full. Take care.